Good morning. My name is Amber Anderson, and I serve on the Ministerial Search Committee. We have a lot going on both today and this week. For more events, go and check the board downstairs. For the first of our 4 announcements, Amos is holding a variety show fundraiser on November 12th at First Unitarian in Des Moines. If you're interested in going, please see Dennis Moline for tickets. There we go. It's that time of year again, time that we ask your input on recipients for the plate split. Suggestions need to be turned in by next Sunday, November 5th, via the form found in your last few emails. Please share your ideas. Next Sunday, November 5th, we will celebrate All Souls Day, a traditional time to remember those we have lost from this world, but who remain in our hearts. Please bring a photo or a small memento of your loved ones for our table of memories. And if you are so moved, be prepared to share a brief recollection. Lastly, make sure to stop by in the fireside room today and check out the pumpkins our children and youth have decorated. Vote for your favorites with your spare change and support UNICEF's efforts to bring safe water, nutrition, and education to children in need. Today's service is a chance for our committee to let you know what we're learning about the congregation and the next steps in the search process. It's a chance for us to all reflect on the traditions we want the next minister to continue and the visions that the new minister could help us achieve. It's a chance to breathe together and manage some of the emotions that come with any big change. If you're visiting today, we encourage you to join us for coffee and fellowship after the service so we can get to know you better. And we encourage you to come back next week to hear from our interim minister, Reverend A.J. Galazin. Whether you're a longtime member or visiting for the first time, whether you're joining us in person or on Zoom, welcome to this sacred space.
We have a reading from Katie Romano Griffin for our chalice lighting today. Come, let us enter this space of hope and community. Come, let us enter this space with our sorrows, our joys, our passion and compassion. Come, let us enter this space with the stories of our ancestors, for their strength and wisdom beats in our hearts. Come into this space, present to the beloved companions who move beside us. Come into this space, mindful that together we are building a future for other generations. Come into this space, and let us worship. Please rise as you are willing and able. For hymn number 102 in the gray hymnal, We Are the Heirs of Many Ages. This is not new, but it's not an old chestnut for us. So Mary is going to play the whole thing through once, and then we will join in. With the horse to
Good morning. My name is Dan Haug, and I serve on the Ministerial Search Committee. We are the heirs of many ages. Unitarian Universalism draws on many sources of wisdom, but we are less anchored in tradition than many religious communities. Our denomination was born of the merger of two groups of heretics, and so religious tolerance and openness to new ideas has always been a part of our movement. Today, our congregation includes many who find the divine in nature, 58%, the survey tells us, many who don't believe in any God, 21%, a few who believe in one God, and a few who believe in many gods. We don't have to believe alike to love alike. We are also less anchored in tradition than some other churches because 80% of us were raised in another faith. And few of those maintain a connection to the religious songs, rituals, and beliefs that we grew up with. For some of us, those traditions remind us of painful memories, times when we or our loved ones were made to feel unwelcome. For some of us, those traditions remind us of happy memories, but they don't have a place in our lives anymore, like friends who have grown apart or moved away. However, most of us have been attending UU churches for long enough to put down roots and create some new traditions. 53% of us have been here for 20 years, and 74% of us have been here for at least 10 years. For those of you who discovered Unitarian Universalism more recently, and for all those kids who are learning about it in RE, welcome. I am one of 5 adults in the congregation who was raised UU, and glad to see some of you carrying on some cherished traditions that I remember from when I was in RE. We still light the chalice, we still share roses and thorns, we still do craft projects to learn about the world's religions and the natural world. We still make covenants for how we treat each other with kindness in our classrooms and out in the larger world. We still write and receive letters from our secret friends to meet people in the congregation. But many things have changed since I was your age. Today, we play the fanfare for the common man while people entered, and we used to do that every Sunday. We used to sing, "From you I receive, to you I give," when we passed the baskets. We used to sing, "Go in peace now, go in peace," when the children would leave for RE instead of this little light of mine. The youth group used to make a pilgrimage to Boston to learn about our UU heritage, and they raised money for it by selling smoothies at concerts hosted by the fellowship, the Moon Cookie Cafe. Some of those traditions changed because of a new minister with a different way of doing things. Sometimes everyone was ready for those changes, and sometimes people liked the old way better. Sometimes the changes led to disagreements. I'm going to ring the chime 3 times. The first to wake the chime, the second to open our minds, and the third to open our hearts. This is something that Reverend Kent used to do at the beginning of every service, but Reverend AJ does not. I kind of like it. My dad hates it. While I ring the chime, the children can come up to the rug and we will read a story about a tree that is having a hard time letting go.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Yes, I do indeed have a story. My name is Christopher Chase, and I also serve on the Ministerial Search Committee. This morning, I'm here to read a story about a little tree who has some trouble letting go, has some anxiety. I think that's something that we all kind of struggle with a little bit. So sometimes it helps to read about how other beings deal with anxiety. So here we go. Little Tree by Lauren Long. Once there was a little tree filled with little leaves, who was surrounded by other little trees who had little leaves of their own. In the heat of long summer days, Little Tree's leaves kept him cool. The squirrels would climb up on his branches to play. The mourning dove landed in him and sang her fluty song. The little tree was sure to grow up big and strong. Autumn arrived, and cool winds filled the air. The wind tickled the little tree as it passed through his branches and ruffled his leaves. The air grew cold. I think we know about that now. And the leaves on all the trees changed color, becoming yellow and red and orange. Oh, I love that time. Then one by one, the trees began to drop their leaves. But not Little Tree. He just hugged his leaves tight. "Hello, Little Tree," said a squirrel. "You're supposed to drop your leaves now." But Little Tree was unsure. What would he do without his leaves? Winter came. "What are you doing with leaves still on you?" asked the doe. Little Tree just hugged his leaves tight, so tight. Springtime arrived, and the little forest burst into life again. The other trees grew bright new leaves. The squirrels played in their branches. Little Tree could hear the mourning dove singing her fluty song. The seasons continued to come and go. "Little Tree," quacked a duckling, "your leaves are brown. Are you feeling sick?" A fox said, "Little Tree, it's autumn. It's time for you to drop your leaves. You can do it. Ready? 1, 2. But Little Tree just hugged his leaves tight. All around, the forest grew and grew. One summer, Little Tree could no longer feel the sunlight. The squirrels played high above on the broad, tall trees, and the mourning dove sang so far away that he could hardly hear her fluty song. Autumn came again. Leaves began to blanket the ground. Little Tree looked up at the other trees, at their branches reaching high into the sky. And he remembered when the trees had all been his size. And then he let go. As his last leaf floated to the ground, for the first time, Little Tree felt the harsh cold of winter. But in time, something happened. Once there was a little tree. And And that's the end of the story. All right. So please join me in sending our wonderful children off to their RE classes. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Time to reflect on traditions. Come, let us enter this space with the stories of our ancestors, for their strength and wisdom beats in our hearts. UUs do not have a church hierarchy telling us what traditions must be preserved and what may be let go. Much of this task falls to members of this congregation in various committees. The new minister will undoubtedly have some new ideas, but we can expect they will want some continuity and to learn about our story and our traditions. Please take this next moment of silence to reflect on a tradition from this fellowship that you would like our next minister to keep alive. If you're new to the fellowship, perhaps there's a tradition from your previous church that still resonates with you that we should consider adopting. We ask you to write down your ideas on the insert in your order of service. We will collect these at the end of the service. If you're on Zoom, you can write something in the chat box and it will be saved and turned in to us also. So please join us in a few moments of silence and hopefully writing.
We will now give and receive the offering. Please know that this morning, half of the non-pledge offering will be donated to the American Cancer Society's Hope Lodge program. More than 30 Hope Lodge communities across the country provide a free place to stay during treatment so people with cancer can focus on getting better. These communities provide comfortable guest spaces with all the comforts of home, all at no cost to guests. The other half of the offering will support programs here in our fellowship that make this a community of inspiration and transformation. We'll pass the basket here in Fellowship Hall, but for those at home, you can visit uufaames.org/give to make your contribution today. If you are visiting today, please know that your presence here is gift enough.
We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle around to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds to change the life from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle around to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love.
On the survey, only about a third of respondents said that they have a regular spiritual practice. Another third says maybe. I think there's a comment about UUs about right here. This reading is about the spiritual practices of one of our previous settled ministers, Dr. Reverend Brian Esslinger, from his book, Can I Call This God? He describes how his spiritual practice helped him stay in relationship with people during difficult conversations. Based on survey results, we may need to think about this some more. The roots of my faith are nurtured by my spiritual practices, the ones that create those moments when my study, work, and experiences all align with my intentions. My life needs a spiritual soil to remain centered on the task of caring. To have meaning, my spiritual practices need to inform those expressions of caring. For me, that foundation is rooted in the earth itself and in the expressions of caring that are made on and around the earth. Caring for other people demands of me that my spiritual practices be part of my daily life. I recall a phone call from the hospital letting me know that a member I didn't know well was going in for surgery. When I arrived at the hospital, the person, who didn't really recognize me when I appeared at his door, delved into issues of illness and mortality, as well as travel and family. The connection made mindfully by attending to relatedness with another person confirmed that I'd followed those foundations built through my spiritual practices, foundations of compassion and interconnection with living beings. There are also much more mundane ways that my spiritual practices touch my everyday life. If you have teenagers or have been around them, you understand that they like to push buttons. The spiritual practices of breathing, just breathing, helps a great deal when buttons are being pushed. Through meditation, I've developed the ability to sometimes breathe instead of yell. When that fails me, this practice helps me to let go of those emotions and move on. And sometimes with an apology, other times by saying, I'm not mad anymore, let's move on. My practices aren't perfect or complete. They don't make me perfect or complete either. But I do know that when I cross that door sill, spoken of by Sufi poet Rumi, When my consciousness is awake, then the world I create in my head and the real world are connected.
After that wonderful interlude, come into this space, present to the beloved companions who move beside us.
This is an exciting time. November is the busy season for the Ministerial Search Committee when we prepare the documents that prospective ministers will see. January is when we begin interviewing candidates. If all goes well, you'll have a chance to meet our top candidate in late April or early May and vote on whether to approve that person as our new minister.
Wait a minute. You said if all goes well. What if things don't go well? What if we end up with the wrong minister? What if that person is divisive enough that my friends leave the fellowship?
We will only bring you a candidate that we think is right for this fellowship. If we can't find a suitable candidate who is interested in coming to Ames, we can continue the search next year with a different pool of candidates.
So no minister at all? Is that likely? Are there more congregations looking than available ministers?
We don't know yet how many candidates will apply. Every year is different. We do know that many ministers experienced burnout during the challenges of the COVID-19 pandemic, and some have left the profession. Compensation will be important, as will setting clear expectations. But after the successful pledge drive, I think we're in a good position.
Why can't we just keep Reverend AJ? I like him.
Reverend AJ is our interim minister, as he reminds us every time he stands before us by saying, "Welcome, Central Iowa and beyond. I'm the Reverend AJ Galazin, your interim minister." Part of the agreement that he made and that we made when we hired him is that he cannot be considered for the position of settled minister until 3 years after he completes his 2 years with us. As a member of the Unitarian Universalist Association, our church has access to staff and resources that can make finding a minister easier. But we have to follow some rules to make the process fair for everyone.
Anxiety. Congregations have it. Ministers have it. One thing that the UUA transitions team emphasizes in the Search and Settlement Handbook is that anxiety can hamper good decision making.
If there is help for managing anxiety, it's self-awareness. Recognizing the anxiety, knowing why you have it, and how it manifests itself in how you are feeling and what you are likely to do, all of this makes you less reactive, less closed, and less tied to the past, and more likely to be proactive, open to possibility, and ready to create a new future.
Let us take a moment to breathe deeply and meditate on our anxieties. These could be anxieties about previous ministers, about our next minister, about our congregation. Let those negative thoughts and feelings arise, but come back to your breath and the sensation of being present in your body, in this room, in this moment.
Breathe in, breathe out. The more you are aware of your thoughts and feelings, the more you can choose whether and how to engage with them. The more we can be aware and present when we are together, the better we can navigate the difficult conversations that come up in any community with any big transition. Will you please rise if you're willing and able and join us in hymn 1031 in the Blue Book.
Come into this space, mindful that together we are building a future for other generations. This is an exciting time. After the disruptions of a global pandemic, we have gradually been returning to our old activities, stepping up our volunteering, increasing our giving, and imagining a vibrant future for our fellowship. Based on feedback from survey and focus groups, we see that many of you are ready for our fellowship to get more involved in social justice efforts and take a more active role in the community. Many are eager for more opportunities to connect socially at the UUFA. Many of you are ready to try something new with our music program and mix up our Sunday service programs. Let's continue the conversation. If you're joining on Zoom, we'll be splitting into breakout rooms in just a moment. If you're in Fellowship Hall, please turn to your neighbors for a small group discussion. Someone in the group should write down some key points on the insert in your order of service or a card. If you're on Zoom, we'll have a facilitator in each breakout room taking notes. The question we're answering this morning is, how can the congregation and the next minister work together to build the fellowship we'd like to see in 10 years? Let's get started. Hello. Hello, hello. So if we can all finish up here. All right, folks. All right. We're all looking forward. We're looking forward. Hello. 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 I don't know, get their attention. There we go. There we go. We're looking forward to reading all your group summaries. Please hand them to one of the search committee members. If you didn't get a chance to share what was on your mind, please communicate with one of us in the next week before we move to the next step of the process. And now let's sing. Please stand if you're willing and able for hymn number 168 in the Gray Hymnal, One More Step.
Right. So, our closing words. Our closing reading today is by Michelle Collins. Changes abound. Around us, within us, between us, in our communities, our neighborhoods, and our beloved faith communities. Changes abound. May we each find the balance point we need as we move through our ever-changing world. The balance between the old and the new, between the known and the unknown, between the familiar and the perhaps bold and risky possibilities that may be there, waiting. Thank you all for this morning.